Welcome to the Workforce Dilemma, where we break down the latest and everything that affects you in the workforce. Our goal here is to educate, enlighten, and entertain, because if we're honest about it, the workforce is hilarious. We're here to address any dilemmas so that you can be equipped to be a better employee, leader, business owner, or HR professional. We bring you news and information that ranges from the serious to the sublime. And I'm your host, Dasya. And behind the scenes, for now, is the professor handling all things tech. In this episode, we're diving into the impact of AI and the revolution it's having on transforming HR departments across the country and the globe. Just this past month, there were some major developments that emerged that are reshaping how companies are hiring, they're managing, and they're supporting their employees through the use of AI. Disclaimer: the opinions expressed on this podcast are our own personal views and not that of our employers past, present, or future. We strongly encourage our listeners to research these topics independently and form your own conclusions. So let's dive into AI and the transformation in HR. Let's talk about what's happening right now in the world of HR and AI. Just this past month, May, IBM announced that 94% of typical HR questions are now being handled by their AI agents, significantly reducing the need for HR business partners. They also have plans to reduce HR headcount and redirect that budget towards sales and engineering. So notice I didn't say reduce headcount. I said from HR and then redirect it to other areas. We're seeing a major company essentially saying that AI can do the job of many HR professionals. Not all, but they're able to do the job of many functions within HR and potentially do it more effectively. So let's just talk about that. This is not just another tech implementation. It's not just like, oh, another tech thing coming our way. This is actually a fundamental shift in how HR is going to be operating. And it's a conversation that's been coming for a while. But here's where it really gets interesting. IBM's journey with AI in HR didn't just start yesterday or in May or even at the beginning of the year, right? These are capabilities that they've been building for years, utilizing seasoned HR professionals like myself, using all the data that already exists so that they can become more efficient, so they can get the work done that they need to get done. So what are the AI tools that they're using? They're using for recruitment, pay analysis, and performance management. The AI agents now helps write performance reviews, creates development plans, and can even coach managers on performance-based decisions. Pretty interesting. So what does this all mean? Let's talk about the May 2025 reality, right? We just entered into June. As of May 2025, right? Not quite halfway through the year, we're seeing this trend accelerating across all industries. According to research published just in the last week or two, about 65% of small businesses are now using AI for functions. So not just large companies like IBM, not just tech companies, small businesses just around the street, just around the corner from you. And within that, 61 are using it daily, right? The primary application you're probably asking is recruitment and talent acquisition. These tools are streamlining. These AI tools are streamlining the hiring process by automating repetitive tasks, like writing a job description. If you've ever written a job description, it is not the most interesting part of a job. AI is helping to screen resumes, right? Let's make sure the person has the bare essentials for this role. And they're scheduling interviews, which is a very time-consuming process that is essential, but not always value-added for a business, especially a smaller one. They're also analyzing data to predict the best times and platforms to post jobs, therefore ensuring companies are attracting top talent quickly and effectively. Because whether you're an employer or a job seeker, you want that talent now. like yesterday, right? So AI is helping with that, which is a win-win if you think about it for both sides of the conversation. But, and this is a really big but, there are serious considerations employers need to keep in mind. Using AI in recruitment could potentially violate anti-discrimination laws if the algorithm perpetuates bias. While there are unknowns on how the EEOC will continue to rule on AI-related claims, there is a recent case out of California, Mobley v. Workday, which was recently class certified, which could be an indicator of the future, but we still have to wait and see how that pans out in the courts. So what are some takeaways for our employers? What should you do if you're an employer considering AI for your HR functions specifically? Here are my key takeaways with the help of the professor behind the scenes. First, and this to me is essential, do not rush into AI implementation without a strategy. For those of you who are business leaders, business owners, your management, you should not do anything without a strategy, right? We don't do a sales without a strategy. We don't do marketing without a strategy. We don't try to grow the business. We don't try to pivot the business without a strategy. So this is the same approach. Have a strategy, do your research, understand what problem are you trying to solve and how can AI address that problem, right? So it's not just like, hey, AI, fix all my problems. It's, hey, I want to reduce the time it takes to hire, or hey, I want to reduce the time it takes to plan the hiring. That's an example. Second, ensure that any AI tools that you adopt are transparent, very important, and can be audited for bias. The legal risk of using biased AI in training are significant, which does relate back to that Workday case. Third, remember that while AI can handle routine tasks, scheduling, resume review, pay analysis, the human element of HR remains essential, which is the human part. The most effective approach is using AI to enhance capabilities, not replace them. And finally, invest in upskilling your HR team. So if you are a business, you have an employer who has an HR team, invest in them, help them learn AI, help them learn more technology, help them make it better. They need to understand how to work alongside AI and leverage it effectively, because that is exactly how we're all going to be successful. So for those of you who are sitting there saying, great, I'm not a business owner, I'm not a business leader, I'm not a manager, I'm an employee. How does this affect me? Here's what you need to know. I think we all need to be prepared to interact with AI during your job search and within your workplace. This could mean AI screened resumes. It could mean AI conducting initial interviews, right? So do you have the initial credentials to even move on to the hiring manager? AI can be generating performance feedback, right? Taking all the data of your goals and your metrics and saying, yes or no, you're on track. We encourage you to develop skills that complement AI rather than compete with it. Focus on creativity, emotional intelligence, and complex problem solving. These are areas where humans still have the edge. And of course, understand your rights. You have the right to know if AI is being used in decisions that affect your employment. You can request transparency about how these systems work. So the AI revolution is here, and it's here to stay, and it's here in HR. But how we shape it is still up to us. Will it enhance human capabilities and create more meaningful work? Or will it replace jobs and potentially introduce new forms of bias? The answer depends on how thoughtfully we implement these powerful tools, just like any other tools that we've used throughout the history of work. As with any technological revolution, there will be disruptions. There will also be tremendous opportunities to make HR more strategic, more data-driven, and ultimately more human-centered. If you're interested in learning more about AI in HR, check out the resources in our show's notes, including new guidelines from the EEOC on using AI in employment decisions. And that wraps up today's deep dive into AI and HR. If this was educational, enlightening, or entertaining, Don't forget to like, subscribe, and hit that notification bell so you don't miss our next episode. And if you have any questions or want us to dive deeper into any of these topics, drop a comment below, and we'll see you on our next podcast.